anybody have a question about quiz before we start going over homework and reviewing? Any issues? You missed something and you're not sure what? Yeah, Jessica. I couldn't even hear the question. What was it, Jessica?
Plus a little.
Number 1. Okay, number 1. Okay, first thing, let's make sure we're all clear on what do we mean by trigonometric form. What's that look like? CIS, that's right. So we are shooting for this. This is what we want. So obviously we have X and Y, and we need R and theta. So R is going to come from the Pythagorean theorem, so that will be root 34. And this is going to be theta, but I can't find it until I find the one inside the triangle. So I will second tangent 5/3. So it's 59. This is 59.026.
That was my answer.
So I'll add that to 180, and I get 239.036. Anything else from the quiz? All right, let's look at last night's homework then, and the previous nights. Anything from 6.6?
Me? Anything
right involving the mauve.
I don't know how you got it.
39.
Like, I was 5. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how I did that. I did.
He actually talking about that.
Yeah, we're talking about the quiz. What?
Okay, so number 39. Here we go.
I did this. This ended up equal 5 and 3, so it's the same answer. Then I just like this is it. Is that one? This is like
Which is this supposed to be?
Okay, number 39 says find the cube roots of the complex number given. Now I've made a couple of changes. The number in the book is written in the longhand form, right? What do I mean by the longhand form? Yeah, we just write it all out. So it says R cosine 2 pi, oh no, it doesn't say R, it says 2. Cosine 2 pi plus I sine 2 pi. So the first thing I did when I rewrote it on the board is I just shortened it. Then I also changed the 2 pi radians into 360 degrees. You don't have to do either one of those things, but now it looks exactly like our practice problems, right? So what does the mauve tell me to do? The number's already in polar form, it's ready to go. What do they tell me to do? What do I do?
Divided by 3.
I don't divide by 3. I take 2 to the 1/3, and then I do 360 times a third.
Yep.
So that would be 120. So there's my first answer. How many answers are there? 3. Evenly spaced. Therefore, how far apart? 120. That's coincidence. But so I have 2 to the 1/3, CIS 240, and CIS 360, which you can always take 360 back to 0 if you would prefer. Now, these are what form? What form is this? Polar or trigonometric form? What are my directions? Do they tell me what to do? No. It doesn't say I have to answer in one form or the other, so I'll just stop there. If it had said answer in complex form, or rectangular form, or Cartesian form, then I would have to find what?
You'd have to find the 2
The X and the Y. And so for example, if I were going to do that with this one, X would be 2 to the 1/3 cosine 120, And y would be 2 to the 1/3 sine 120, right? And I would find that and I would answer as x plus yi using this x and this y. Since the directions don't say to do that, I'm not going to do it.
How did you know that you were getting 3 points or 3?
It's a cube root problem.
Okay.
Whatever the root is, that's how many answers there are.
Alright, so if it's 1/3, it's like 1, even though it's only 1/3, it's still 3 solutions.
That 1/3 means cube roots.
Okay.
So 4th roots, there'd be 4 of them. That exponent would be 1/4.
She is so concerned.
All right. Anybody else
She's just impressed by that.
have a question from anything in this section? All right, let's look then at, in your packet, on Friday, we looked at the sheet called Brief Recap. Let's look on the back of that. So look on the back of the Brief Recap sheet. So we're on the back. On the back side of the Brief Recap sheet. We're going to go through these. This is pretty good review. We'll just start at the beginning. Here we go. Change into polar coordinates. Right? Does everybody should have an idea about this. What are we looking for if we're looking for polar coordinates?
The R and the N.
We are looking for r and theta. And we can find r and theta real easily by drawing a little picture. What's r?
5, square root of 5.
Square root of 5. Now theta we'll need a calculator for. What buttons will I press?
Tangent.
Second, tangent, 1/2. And I got 26.57. Is that theta?
No.
No. This is theta, right?
So plus 180.
So I gotta add 180, so 206.57. Does anybody have a question about that? Now we're gonna do the next one then exactly the same way. We are not going to be confused. We're gonna draw a picture of 4, -1. What's my radius? Square root of 17. Now I'll find my angle by second tangenting 1/4. And it's 14.04. Right? But that's not theta. This would be theta, so how will I find theta?
360
Subtract that
minus.
from 360, so 345.96. Now, that is these are the polar coordinates of the point 4, -1. However, did you notice this time they want you to answer with a negative radius? So you are simply going to have one extra step. You're going to change the radius to a -√17. And the only reason we would ever do this is because they told us to. So we change it to a -√17. And then, what do I do with that angle?
Minus 180.
That's right, it changes by 180 degrees. So 165.96.
The opposite angle, which is minus 180. That's yours now, Katie.
Okay? All right, number 3, rewrite in rectangular standard Cartesian form.
I made a little stand for it.
What does that mean? What am I shooting for?
You're shooting for those 2 points right there.
Well, I'm not shooting
I
for the
mean-
points, I'm shooting for x plus yi,
Yeah.
shooting for an x and a y.
Tell you.
How do I find x and y? This is easy. X equals r, what's my r? 4 cosine theta, which is 210, and y equals 4 sine 210. Now, obviously, you can just type that in on your calculator. It is possible that this would be a no calculator question, because what's special about 210 degrees? It has a reference angle of 30.
Yeah.
You can't forget all this stuff. You've got to remember, across from the 30 is 1, hypotenuse is 2, long leg is √3. Anything negative in there, don't forget those, negative.
Both.
Both are negative. So what's the cosine? Again, if we're doing this with no calculator, you need to be able to do this. What's the cosine? Negative √3/2. What's the sine? Negative 1/2. So this would give me negative 2√3. This would give me negative 2. So my answer is negative 2√3 minus 2i. Obviously, if you typed it in on your calculator, you get that 2, but you get some other decimal thing there. Number 4 is basically the same question, except it says rectangular coordinates. So that means I'm answering, rectangular means x, y, coordinates means ordered pair, so I'm answering like that. But I'm going to do it the same way. How do I find x? 4 cosine 20. This one I need a calculator for, because 20 isn't special. So I just type those in, and what do I get for my ordered pair? 4 cosine 20. And 4 sine 20. There we go. Okay. Number 5, rewrite in polar form. Okay, so what am I looking for if I'm looking for polar form? RCIS theta, that's polar form. Not an ordered pair, that would be polar coordinates. How do I find r and theta? Draw a picture. So I'll draw -1 minus 5i. What's r? √26. How do I find theta?
Second tangent, -5, divided by -1.
Second tangent 5. $78.69. So 78.69.
Where's my turbo?
So what's my theta?
Oh, it's so low.
258.69. All right, number 6. Who remembers this? We kind of made a big deal about it last week. What do we do first? Our job is to rewrite this with x's and y's. Yeah, so the first thing we want to do is deal with the function. So cosine is x over r.
The whole thing.
Harvey, I am about ready to take some drastic action. So would you put everything away there that you're
Well, that's
messing
my math
around?
folder.
And let's just focus on this, okay?
Okay.
So, now what? Get rid of that fraction, so r squared equals 6x. X squared plus y squared. Okay?
We can keep it like that.
Yep. Number 7, same type of problem but backwards. Write this as a polar equation. So what do? Couldn't be any easier. What does x equal?
R cosine.
R cosine theta. So this is going to be r cosine theta. What does y equal?
R sine.
R sine theta. 3r squared sine squared equals 4r cosine plus 3. Is that a polar equation? Yes, because what are its variables?
Cosines.
R and theta. Yeah. And then number 8. What's the answer to A? 10 CIS 271. What's the rule? When we multiply numbers in polar form, we multiply the r's and add the angles. Okay, B is a division, all right? So what's that one going to be? 2/5 CIS. What's 70 minus 201? Negative 131. You want to leave that in the answer blank?
No.
No, because why?
Just have to get it to zero.
Not supposed to have a negative there. So how will we make that a positive? How will we get the positive equivalent of that? Add 360. So what will that give me? 229. The rule for division of complex numbers in polar form, we divide the r's and subtract the angles. What does C mean, that notation? Talked about it on Friday. What does that notation mean? That means the conjugate. So remember in complex, or in polar form, conjugates have the same R value, the same magnitude, the same R, but the angle is in the opposite direction. So for Z sub 1, the conjugate would be 2 CIS negative 70. 2, same radius. Instead of positive 70, it's negative 70. And then, of course, we don't like that negative, just like we didn't before, so we'll rewrite that as 290. How do we make those negatives positive? Add 360. And then what does D mean? That means the magnitude, which is the same as R. So the answer to D is just 2. Right? Tomorrow we'll do the next page, which is exactly the same as what we've done before. For now, let's take a look at what's going to be tonight's homework, which is the pre-test. And the first 9 we've pretty much already talked about, so let's focus on 10 through 14. And let's look at number 10. Find the cube roots. Okay, this is your homework, so if you want to start a clean sheet of paper and start with number 10, that would be great. All right, how do I start number 10? It's already, well, I need to put it into polar form. It's already in complex form, right? But in order to find powers of it, I need it in polar form. So what does polar form mean again? This is what I need, all right? How do I get from 4 root 2 plus 4 root 2i, how do I get the polar form from there? Draw a picture of it. Now, without a calculator, you should be able to tell me what this angle is. 45. Right? 2 legs of a right triangle congruent, that's 45, 45, 90. Now, Pythagorean theorem, what would the hypotenuse be? 4. I don't think it'd be 4.
Oh, that's more.
It'd be 8. You square this, you get 16 times 2, you get 32. 32, add them together, you get 64, and the square root of 64 is 8. So our number is 8 CIS 45. That is not an answer. That is the problem. We need to find the cube roots of that. How many will there be?
3.
3. How far apart will they be?
45.
120.
120.
Always.
What's the first one? 2 CIS 15. How did I get that first answer? 8 to the 1/3, 45 times a third. De Moivre's theorem. 8 to the 1/3, 45 times a third. So that's my first answer. What would my second one be? 135, and the last one is 255. They're 120 degrees apart because there's 3 of them, and 360 divided by 3 is 120. Number 11 is almost exactly the same problem. How many answers does number 11 have? 1. When do we have multiple answers? When we find roots. And what do exponents look like when we find roots? They're fractions.
Yeah.
If it's not a fraction, there's one answer.
Yeah, alert.
Alert. All right.
Alert.
So how do we start? Same way we did this, exactly.
Distribute that baby.
No, we don't distribute anything.
Okay. Wow.
We change it
Wow.
in the
That's a
polar
big
form.
miss.
Again,
Distribute it.
even without a calculator, you should recognize this angle as what?
60.
60. Squaring this gives us 12, squaring this gives us 4, 16, that's 4. So my radius is 4, and my angle, ooh, be careful, is 120.
Dodge the bullet.
That is what we are going to raise to the 4th power.
Okay, that's gonna be a big one.
So how do we do that?
Distribute.
4 to the 4th
Which is
This is 256. And 120 times 4 is 480.
but 480
Now,
is an
Also,
how about that answer?
No.
No, this is
A to
too
big enough
big.
meatball.
So 256 CIS
What is wrong?
120.
First you don't give me the hug, and now this, man. Hug after class.
Two.
I don't even want it anymore. Yeah, you
What form is this? Four. There's no directions here, but on the off chance, it might say answer in rectangular complex Cartesian form. What would you do?
X
You would
equals.
need to find x, and you would need to find y. And then your answer would be x plus yi after you found those values. And when would you do that?
If they asked for complex or
As
rectangle.
complex rectangular form. Okay, number 12. Well, that was a quiz question for you guys. What are the classical curves? Rose, spiral, lemniscate, lemniscate, right? Remember, the lemniscate is the figure 8, the lemniscate is the lima bean, right? Emma, you awake? Number 13, plot the following points and label them.
That's why you got my phone.
It puts my old down.
Ben. Hey, yo, Ben. Nice 6 doors.
Okay, so here we go, we're gonna plot these points. For point A, 3, 120. So here's 90, here's 120 right here. So 3, 120 would look like, oops. Yep, would be right here. That's point A. On the third circle out, angle 120 degrees. Point B is 4, 5 pi over 4. Now, our graph paper is labeled in degrees, so you might want to change 5 pi over 4 into degrees.
Yeah.
So that would be what?
That would be
225.
That's what I was thinking.
So on the 225 circle, fourth circle out. So here we are, 225, fourth circle out, that's point B. C is 2, -15. So here would be -15, second circle out, there's point C. Uh-oh. D is -2, -30. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is problematic.
Can you just make it a 2
So I make it a 2.
and add 180?
And add 180, so that point is actually going to get plotted on 2, 150. So here is point D. Remember to change the sign on R. You change the angle by 180 degrees. Then it says we're going to graph on a calculator. Before we do it, do you have any idea what shape A is? It's a rose. Very good. Can you tell me about that rose before you get it graphed? It has 3 leaves and they will be 4 units long? you figure that out. I am not gonna be taking your test with you, so you figure that out. You kind of just answered that question. It has 3 leaves and they're 4 units long.
How did you know that was for?
Because it's for sine 3
We covered
theta.
that like 10 minutes ago,
So,
Katie.
it's,
So get it graphed and look over on your neighbor.
Oh, is this a different? Is this a different?
Yeah.
Just being degrees.
this
You
is
decide.
probably 14A.
It really doesn't make any difference what mode you're in as long as your window is set up appropriately.
My windows.
Is this what you got? Yeah. No, that's wrong. This window's just bigger. Oh, he's right. I didn't realize you got them in the wafers. I'm out.
Please go.
Who do you think I is?
What's your step?
Yeah, bro, you know I've been doing stuff in class, like getting the grades, like getting the books.
What's your
Books and hitting the women.
step on?
Alright. Gotta hit the books and the women, Steve.
Just the books.
I wasn't interviewing. No, actually, I got one.
Did you get a 3-leaf rose? Good. All right. What's the next one? It's a Lima sign. So let's grab it and see if we can get a nice little Lima sign. Is this Lima sign a cardioid? No. Why not?
Because it still has that thing.
That's right. You have a 2 and a 3, right? Instead of a 3 and a 3 or a 2 and a 2. So did you get a little interior loop in there?
Yeah.
If it's a, what were you saying it was? So if it is that, it doesn't have that loop in the middle, and they're both the same coordinates.
Right.
You know what they say about cadmiums?
Harvey?
Yes, Miss Ford.
What is wrong with you? Okay, so we got the graphs? Good on that?
Yeah.
Okay, your homework for tonight is to finish this page. Now that's only 1 through 9. You might want to take a look at the in-class review sheet. It's a little bit longer. That'll be tomorrow's homework. So if you have a chance to get started, I'm going to give you the rest of the period to finish up or at least get a good start on finishing this pretest. This is not time to be doing English, retreat letters, government, econ, or anything else not important. Right now, this is what is important. Okay? So let's get started.
How do you do that?